Hello and welcome to the Be United podcast. Neo Vilakazi from Soweto, South Africa is the writer, composer and producer of Shona the Musical. Shona the Musical is coming soon to theatres, and you can find out more information on their website, shonathemusical.com. You can also follow them on Instagram at Shona the Musical. That's SHONA the Musical. Stay connected. It's time to unite. Leo.
Yebo.
Neo.
Hello.
Neo.
What up? What up? What's going on?
Do you like it when people call you Neo? You know Neo's a singer.
I know. That's how people get to know who I am. I'm like Neo.
Okay.
They're like, Neo like the singer? I'm like, yeah. So it makes it easy for people to remember the name.
Neo Vilakazi.
Vilakazi. Ubindu umphephethe wasengodeni ngwavuma wadla umkadadu wabo wathi akanamhlehlo umhlehlo wakhe isibhaba katana. Those are my praise sayings, and we're just getting started. Zulus have praise names. And mine is Vilakazi. So if you ever meet a Vilakazi person, say Mpepete. That would be very, very nice. They'll grapple you unto their hearts with hoops of steel.
Do you still speak Zulu?
Of course I speak Zulu.
I mean, you know, in your everyday life.
Well,
do you speak it to your children?
I speak it to rarely, but I speak it with my brother. So he's,
okay.
Yeah.
You should teach your children that.
I know, but I just think that guys are lazy. You know, if you have a guy who's got, who's a foreigner in a foreign land, they'll speak that language. If you have a, woman, they tend to speak their own language to their children, regardless where they are in the world. So
Yeah.
I fall into that category. Lazy dude, lazy guy.
Oh man, that's one thing I just wish I learned was another language besides English and Afrikaans. I think I will teach my child a little bit of Afrikaans. The little I know.
Just like I said, women, they can do that kind of thing, but guys, we are lazy, If you're outside your own sort of tribal or national environment and you go and live, whatever language is spoken there, you'll adapt yourself to their language, their customs, their mores,
that's true.
to try and fit in. But women are fantastic in that they do all in their power to transfer their culture and their languages to their children.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for that.
I wonder why that is. Is there some research behind that?
I don't know that there's any research behind it. It's just been my own personal observation over many years that, if you have let's say a Polish woman who's married to a Scottish guy, lives in Glasgow or Edinburgh, the children will speak Polish.
Yeah.
But if you had a Scottish guy going to Warsaw, the children will speak no English. Type thing.
Yeah.
So it's just a personal observation. So I think mother tongue, there's truth to that. It's not father tongue, it's mother tongue.
True. Neo, you are the creator, the man behind Shona the Musical.
Yes. Labor of love.
I'm so excited to actually see it in person. I think it's going to be a great musical. I've watched the YouTube video.
Yep, the choir.
The choir, yes.
Yes,
It has been very great.
Yeah.
Extremely talented people.
I know. I'm very lucky. I always say that my best talent in the world is to attract talented people.
Yes.
I just hang out with people who are more talented than me. That's what I do. And it makes whatever I write 10 times better.
Those outfits are amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, who is making those outfits?
Well, again, I sort of come up with the ideas, I created them, and I get somebody to sew them for me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Locally or?
Locally, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I come up with the ideas and say, do this.
You should come up with some merchandise, like on the website, because I would love to buy.
Yeah,
some of
we
the
are
outfits
thinking of that.
the
Yeah,
women were wearing.
but the ones that we are doing now for our next gig are gonna be lit, like literally.
Yeah.
I've spent a bit of time and thought on the outfits this time around, and I think people will be just like, wow, wow, that's how African stuff can be. So yeah, leather, we going, postmodern African fashion.
Oh, love
that's
to
what
see it.
Do. Yeah.
So I want to go back in time, and where did the interest in theatre and musicals stem from? And also, what was the first production you were involved in?
Those are great questions. The first part to your question of, where did I get the love of musicals and stuff like this? What I would say is, being a Zulu person, singing, dancing, acting, just socially when we were growing up was a part of our culture. Everybody sang, everybody told stories, this might be showing my age a bit, but I grew up without TVs around, so the only form of entertainment was from person to person. So people who could sing or dance or tell great stories were highly treasured and valued in the society. So growing up in South Africa as a Zulu young boy back in the 70s, people just enjoyed the arts, although we did not have the label that said it was the arts, but you would appreciate a great singer, a great storyteller, etc. So I would say that the love of storytelling, we grew up listening to radio stories, we didn't have the TV, as I say, so you had to imagine what was happening. And I think that for me was where my love of all forms of storytelling come from. My grandmother was a great storyteller. My grandfather was a preacher man, and these people would tell stories for hours. They were not in a rush, So that's where I think that the fundamentals of it started. Then going to school in Soweto, in the ghetto. Again, we had a wonderful introduction to the arts even back then. The apartheid black schools were also very active in competitions. So there was choir competitions, there was play competitions, there was dancing competitions that were held just amongst the black schools themselves, because everything was segregated. But that sort of hot-housed the talent amongst kids growing up at that time. So I got involved. I was anything that was going, that was cultural. Is there a choir forming? I'm in the lead. Is the dancing happening? I'm getting involved, and I loved competing against other schools. We learned a great deal. Just doing that. So the culture was, I suppose, cemented in my soul back then. And I do think of myself being in Scotland and still singing, really, really pure Zulu songs. And people are like, dude, how could you be singing that old-fashioned stuff in Scotland? But I think it comes from that we were drilled in our cultural song and dance, if you like. And we competed quite a lot. So that gave me a good grounding of or love for African culture. I then, by luck, really, I won a scholarship to go to a very posh school, white school. And again, remember I said earlier that schools in South Africa were segregated on racial lines. So when I won this scholarship, it was to send me to a very, very exclusive white private school. And when I got there, again, one of the main things that the school prided itself in was its cultural offering. They did brilliant productions of their, it was like they had no financial problems with regards to what they could do. The resources, their theaters were world class for a school. They had music rooms, they had dark rooms for photography and all sorts of things that I never knew existed, but I was introduced to in this new world of, Western or white culture. So that world really was what introduced me to musicals as such. The first production that I was involved in was Gilbert and Sullivan, The Pirates of Penzance. And I just completely fell in love with the general. For those of you who know this show, for in spite of all temptation to belong to other nation, you'll know the... No, that's not actually Pirates of Penzance, but that's also a Gilbert and Sullivan tune. Yeah, man, I fell in love with musicals from there, and from then on, I've never looked back. I've been in many productions ever since, and I suppose coming all the way till now, what has been problematic to me is the fact that there's not many African productions. It's all well and good to love Gilbert and Sullivan. It's all well and good to love, Andrew Lloyd Webber. Even sort of more contemporary work like Hamilton by Lin-Manuel Miranda. But there's no African work that I could see of any stature. A friend of mine, Bongeni Ngema, wrote something called Sarafina, which those of you who are in the know, was turned into a movie with Whoopi Goldberg. He's been a great friend for a long time, and we'd sit there and talk about just how few and far between the opportunities are for African people to express themselves in this great sort of art form of musicals. So I hope that kind of like answers everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But how do people make South African culture marketable?
That's what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm on. And I'm trying to say, listen, we've got a culture that is absolutely beautiful, and it pains me. Oh my goodness. I work myself up every night thinking, who owns the Lion King? It's not African. It is African. This is all about cultural appropriation. Yeah. Beautiful piece of work, but it's South African culture. But hey, it's not us that are profiting from it. Although I will say in defense of Disney and the Lion King, that they've given a lot of our brothers and sisters good careers, good jobs and all of this. So, Disney is selling South African culture. They're the ones who are marketing it. They're the ones who are successful at doing it. It's very difficult to see African brothers and sisters who are doing the same thing at the same type of level. Dare I say it, we've got, sisters like Beyonce now has turned her gaze to African culture. A lot of her stuff is now heavily influenced by African dance, African, beats, Afro beats, and all of this kind of stuff. Brilliant, because she's giving it a platform to shine. But I do, in the darkest hours of the night, pray that some African sisters might get a similar opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Because who is it benefiting? It's benefiting Beyonce. It gives South Africa maybe gives South Africa exposure.
Yeah.
But is it helping South Africans?
Well, I it's definitely helping me. Having said that, I look at that and it inspires me, because I'm thinking, well, these people are not even African or South African, but yet they can see the beauty in our culture. And they are taking that cultural beauty and infusing their work with it. And as artists, I think people can get inspiration from all over the world, and they are allowed to do so. That's what an artist is. You don't want to limit what influence they can draw upon. So I look at the work of The Lion King is a huge inspiration. In fact, I'm going to go back to those of you who know Paul Simon, who worked very successfully with Black Mambazo and created an album, I think it was around 1985-86, called Graceland. I mean, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. She's a rich girl, she don't try harder. Diamonds on the soles of her shoes. You know that song?
I don't.
Oh my!
I'm embarrassed to be speaking to you. I don't know any of
it. If you don't know Paul Simon's Graceland and you are African, then go get it.
I am ashamed.
Go get it.
I'm going to be doing a lot of research after this conversation.
Yeah, go get it. But all of that inspires me. I think when external artists look at Africa and they see the beauty of our clothing, of our dancing styles, I mean, of our, we got beautiful people in Africa who are slowly but surely making themselves seen across the pages of GQ, Marie Claire, and all of these other famous magazines, who are making themselves seen on MTV and in the movies. One must rejoice that we are making progress. But we must be careful not to lose ourselves and our identity in our quest to progress and to internationalize. So, yeah, I don't mind people using African culture and highlighting it. I just think that we as Africans must learn from that and say, yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah, totally.
We can take our own culture and project it onto world stages. And I think America, very, bold and brave. I mean, I think Beyonce is fantastic. Who would say otherwise? And they're brave. They take on African culture and they project it onto a world stage. Why can't we learn from that and do it the authentic way?
Yeah, exactly. So are you hoping to take Shauna the Musical back home?
I am. Yes, I am. I'm hoping to go, and thus far we've done workshops on it. We have created a choir just to sing the songs, but we haven't yet had the resources to do the show, the whole musical, the way I would have it done. So we are slowly building it. And it would be, well, I'm talking to some theaters in South Africa as we speak to hopefully be able to launch the whole musical in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you write all of the songs?
Yeah, I write all the songs, I write all the lyrics, I write all the book. So yeah.
I love the song Every Minute.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
I like
It's all right.
And A Life Without You.
Yeah, I did all right, didn't I?
Yeah, Shona Diamonds.
Yep.
I was like listening to these songs. I was like, wow, that is really incredible. And then are you also producing the music? You're writing the music for it?
Gotta do everything, man.
Jeez.
We gotta do everything.
Multifaceted.
You gotta do everything, man. You gotta, So, I mean, it's very difficult being in Scotland to find other people that know the culture. I mean, you mention a song like Every Minute. That's probably as Western a song as I've written,
right.
in the whole show. Every morning I open my eyes and see your face and fall in love like it was the first day I fell in love with you. Beautiful lyric. Beautiful lyric. Beautiful lyrics.
And then how do you ensure that the singers are telling the story that you're writing?
You have to get people who are talented, and that's not easy. I mean, X Factor and Pop Stars and all of these talent programs will tell you that finding talented people is a lot harder than what people think.
Yeah.
So the first, I think, criteria is to find people who may not be famous, none of us are, but they really have got talent. And the other thing that I discovered once I started finding people was that I always thought my songs were very easy to sing. You know, I always thought, you know, you sing Vuga Zimbabwe, Vuga, Vuga Zimbabwe, Toran Zimbo Yako Zimbabwe Usachemi. Down on our knees in foreign fields, the time is now. I always thought it was very easy material.
Right.
Until I found artists and they were like, oh, I can't sing this. And I was like, well, why can't you sing it? It's very easy. So it's that was a surprise to me, that all of the African infused words, you know, notes, the timing of our music is also very tricky. It's not your standard kind of Western, you know, timing. So we play around. Within a song, we could change time signature once or twice. And, you know, Western singers be like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to stick to the same timing. I'm like, yeah, we can. And we just have. So I learned that through working with people, that the songs are not necessarily as easy as I thought they were. And I think that comes from the fact that I am Zulu. I grew up with this type of music. So for me, it could be the easiest thing in the world, but it's not necessarily the case for people coming in who don't have that culture. So people find it tricky to sing. So you have to have time and you have to have talent to teach people to sing these songs. And, you know, but at the beginning, I didn't think we would need as much time for people to familiarize themselves with the material.
Did you have to go through like an audition process?
Yeah, we've always.
How did you find the singers? And sorry, I'm throwing questions at you, but are they from South Africa?
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky. I've come across some people who've had association with the Lion King, who may have performed in the Lion King before, maybe not performing at the moment. So those are really, really talented people, and they're like, you know, they'll hear my songs and be like, man, that's great stuff. Give me a go. I want to sing that. So I've been lucky in a sense. But when, you know, you're looking for singers in Scotland in particular who can sing African stuff, you have to look very hard. There's not very many. Yeah. So, I mean, it's taken me years to find, you know, about 10 or 12 singers in Scotland who can sing the stuff. When you get sort of white people, Scottish singers, you know, it takes them long to get their ear and tongue around what we're trying to do.
Right.
So a combination of luck in finding people who, you know, professional who are South African, you know, as I say, people from the Lion King. I've had people from Soweto Gospel Choir sing my stuff.
Okay.
So any sort of South African artist who comes to Scotland, I find very quickly.
Well, that's good. And I guess the community is quite small. So
yeah. You know, there's a guy who was in Moja. So, like, if he was in Moja, he's in Scotland, I'll go and talk to him.
Yeah. And
people are always looking for work, so that helps as well.
Yeah.
To, you know, so yeah. I mean, it's been, as I say, it's taken a bit of time to find the people, but we're getting there.
Another prominent figure that you admire is Frederick
Douglass.
Frederick Douglass.
Yes.
Are you working on
I'm
something?
working. Yeah.
Are you writing about?
I'm writing a play about Frederick Douglass. Yes.
About his life, rather.
Great guy. I mean, those of you who are familiar with American history will know, or Black history in particular, will know who Frederick Douglass is. I don't think that there's a bigger personage than Frederick Douglass in the, you know, in terms of his role with the emancipation of slavery. You know, he is he's bigger than Martin Luther King in terms of his contribution to American Black lives.
But it's interesting, but you don't hear about him as much as you hear about Martin Luther King.
Yeah, I just think that that's just because Martin Luther King was alive 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
And this guy was alive. He died in, I think, around about 1898 or something like that. So he was alive 120 years ago. So people have forgotten his memory. But he was like physically and literally a giant of a man. You know, he was he's about 6'6". He's an escaped slave.
Oh, I thought you meant like
Not Martin Luther.
figuratively.
No. Figuratively and physically and literally.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm really excited to tackle that story and write about Frederick Douglass, who I think is he was a leader in the anti-slavery movement, and many people don't know, including a lot of his American followers, don't know that he came to live in Scotland, in Edinburgh. In 1846, he was doing a tour around Scotland and talking about, slavery in America and trying to drum up support to get rid of slavery in the States, which did not happen, I think, till somebody will correct me here. I think it was 1868 or something like, or 67. I can't remember exactly, but that's when the slavery was abolished in the States. I think in the UK it happened, was it in the 1830s? I can't remember exactly what year it was. 1836. Somebody call me and correct me if I'm wrong. So he was here in 1845, 1846, trying to get support from UK people to end slavery in the States. So my story that I'm writing will be about his time in Scotland. So I'm just going to focus on that because the men did so much. You could really literally write a show for 10 hours just talking about it. When I read
his story, I was like, wow, what a
guy. Yeah. If you don't know about Frederick Douglass, do me a favor, Google him.
Yeah, his story is absolutely amazing. I thought, what a fearless,
unbelievable
man.
Guy.
And then just going through all that mental and physical torture, but still being so determined. To be that.
To be somebody.
Emancipated.
Yeah. I mean, he started off as a slave. He was taught to read by his slave master's wife. So, I mean, from where he started to where he ended in his, very long life, to be fair, is just amazing. And he was such a big figure in American history. He should have his face on Mount Rushmore, if you ask me. Nobody deserves it more. I mean, he created the first black battalion to fight against the South in the American Civil War. A lot of people don't know that. So very, very, I mean, you could literally write a show that would last 2 days talking about that man's life. But for me, I thought I will focus on his time in Scotland. And again, when he got to Scotland, he was very active. I mean, he was, one of the things that he did was to try and convince the church in Scotland not to take money from slavers.
Yes.
So he was politically very active in Scotland. And, he there's a great sort of song that was written when he was here, Give the Money Back. So there's a very old Scottish song written about the Church of Scotland must give the money back to the slavers. And that was a direct result of Frederick Douglass being in Edinburgh and traveling around giving his speeches, anti-slavery speeches. So yes, I'm writing that. Very, very different from writing about Zimbabwe or Africa.
Yeah.
So I'm writing something that took place in Scotland. So I am in the creative throes of doing that at the moment.
So that is to come in the future?
That's to come in the future. I am wrestling with the beast as we speak. So yeah, I should have it done.
So Neo, when you're not writing and just being this brilliant creator, what do you like to do for fun?
Golf. I play golf, people. Fuddy duddy. I go and play golf and walk around with my kids on the golf course. It is I find that it's, I love doing that. I love playing golf. If I'm not writing, I'm on a golf course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scotland's a great place for that.
It's a fantastic place for that. Yeah. So that's my sort of relaxation thing, is to go and play golf.
Have you played at St Andrews yet?
Yes.
Fancy, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, we get around on a golf course, man. we just love playing. So
Yeah.
we find all sorts of courses to play, and there's great courses in Edinburgh and East Lothian and all around. So yeah, golf is my passion outside. Yeah, I mean, I love sport in general, but I'm not too young now, so I can't go and run around on a football pitch or something.
But golf is a nice chill.
Yeah, it's chilled.
You
It's it's cool. I mean, so I watch a lot of sport. I love rugby. I played rugby at private school. I ran, so I'll watch athletics. But
Yeah.
I'll participating sport now is golf. I'll go and play golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have an exciting weekend ahead.
I do, yeah.
Photoshoot.
Yeah,
with
I've got
the choir.
The choir on Sunday. We'll be doing a photo shoot. The choir has been invited to sing at the Edinburgh International Festival this year, and they'll be singing songs from the musical. So we've got a photo shoot happening this Sunday. I am absolutely excited about it. Oh, you should come and see the costumes, by the way.
Oh man.
Yeah, they're gonna be amazing. So yeah, so we've got this photo shoot for the international festival later in the year. So yeah, very exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah, well, people are getting their dresses made and all sorts of things. So even just before coming into studio, I was talking to somebody who's making the dresses and saying, "You gotta change it, man." Who knew about this? I'm talking about making dresses. What the hell happened to me?
That's awesome.
What? Dude, who is this guy?
I
Who
really
is this
hope
guy?
you have a online store or something, because
I mean that
yeah.
I mean from a personal point of view, I think African style and African fashion is fantastic, and there's a lot of people who take inspiration from it. So one of the things that I hope the musical will allow us to do is to be able to kind of like use the stage as a catwalk for African fashion, showcase the African, garments, if you like, and our styling. And then we would be really keen to retail those clothes as well too, again, it's part of African culture which we can share with the rest of the world.
It's been so epic speaking to you, just
thank you so
understanding what goes on in that brain of yours. Like,
I don't think I know what goes on in my brain.
I mean, to come up with such an amazing musical, Shauna the Choir. I mean, as we were speaking about it, just makes me so excited to watch it. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I will just say that I just love what wealth of story comes out of Africa. If you look, you don't even have to look really closely. And as I say, Zimbabwe it's been tragic. A lot of people have been driven from their homes, black and white. I mean, there's a lot of people who've crossed the border, the Limpopo, and you find them in Johannesburg trying to, eke out a living in a very, very harsh environment there. So it's been tragic that, there's been an exodus of people, and it's not their choice that what has happened, including, as I say, white farmers who have also been driven from the land. And one can understand why, African people in those rural areas want their land back. So it is such a great story that I couldn't turn my face away from it. I had to, somehow write it, and I hope that I've done it a bit of justice. Yeah.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm positive you have.
I know I have.
There we go.
I know I have. But I didn't want to blow my own horn there.
Sometimes you just have to.
It took a long time.
Yeah, exactly. It took you 4 years to write. Ain't nobody got time to be humble.
Yeah, old-fashioned that way. But it took a long time. A lot of drafts, a lot of feedback, a lot of studio time, a lot of
ups and downs, pushbacks.
Yeah, because I did think it's such a great story when you get into it, and the the factors that came together in Zimbabwe. They're historic, as I said. I mean, one of the things, there's never been a country where the white person has been persecuted by black people in the history of the world. It happened in Zimbabwe. You know, it's a huge thing, but people don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
You know, and that for me was also a very interesting thing where, yeah, things have kind of like, you know, switched around, and Zimbabwe was certainly that case. So yeah, I hope people, when they do come and see it, when we put it together, will be entertained, not fall asleep,
but be educated.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what drives me.
And where can people find out more information about Shona the Musical in terms of dates?
Dates, well, we're going to be at the International Festival on the 16th. We've got a date now when we're performing on the 16th of August. Come see us at the International Festival, people.
Yeah.
So the third South African group I know of that has been invited, one being Black Mambazo, doing something called the Nala with Rambe and the Royal Ballet. They are one. The other group that has been invited into the International Festival in the last 30 years is Cape Town Opera. So we are the third in 30 years to be invited to perform at that really prestigious festival. So
Wait,
I'm
can
really
you say
proud.
that again? You are the third?
The third group in 30 years from South Africa to be invited to perform in the Edinburgh International Festival.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love
Black
to see
Mambazo,
it.
Cape Town Opera,
Shona
the Musical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. What a time to be alive.
Yeah. So that's where we're going to be on the 16th of August. And then thereafter, we are hoping to go around Scotland with the choir in the winter. And then we will hopefully be able to do the whole show in the winter, Scottish winter of 2022 and the South African summer of 2022. So we want to launch in Johannesburg or Cape Town next October, the whole musical.
Good.
So that's our plans as they are.
So you'll be going back to South Africa for that, of course.
Creating jobs, getting some talented people,
love to
you know,
see
to bring this thing to life.
I'm back in South Africa for that.
Yeah,
well.
and I'll have to I'll make sure you're there. You know? You'll be like, oh my God, this is what it is.
Yes.
After all this time talking about it, a musical is a big undertaking, huge undertaking.
Well, thank you so much
No,
for
thank
your
you.
work
Thank you.
in the space, and very excited to see what you
Comes
come up with. And not just with Shona the Musical, but with Frederick Douglass, the story about African women. Really, really excited to see.
Thank you so much for inviting us, and people, thank you for listening wherever you might be. Come see Shona the Musical, see our choir, follow us, do whatever you do, and we'll see you around.
Find them on the social media.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neo.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate.
Thank you for listening to the Be United podcast. Find us on Instagram at Be United World, and you can follow me, Inga Dale, at Spoken by Inga on Instagram. Be inspired, be connected, be united.